All right. So my name is Eric Griffith. I'm the Director of IT for Mechanicsburg Schools in Mechanicsburg, Ohio. It's a very small school district, about 863 kids total, pre-K through 12, all in one big building. So very small organization, very small school building, and it allows me to get all over the building all on the same day, all at the same time. And I have so much time that I can come out and present anywhere, anytime I need to, okay? It's written into my contract. It's kind of nice, okay? So with that, we are, I think, year 5 into our one-to-one program. And so this is the year where we're starting to build up those applications and solutions that we find that we think, oh man, teachers really just need to see this in the classroom, okay? So the one that I've used for a couple of years, now I've used a few applications like this. What this does is it takes your screen, okay, and it projects it onto everybody else's screen. So hopefully I can demonstrate this for you today, how this works. You can join my Pear Deck session and I can show you exactly how this works. Now there are some alternatives to this. This one is Pear Deck. It's the lowest cost one. It's very inexpensive, maybe $1 or $2 a kid if you're an IT person and you have to pay for stuff like this. So very inexpensive. The alternative to this is one called Nearpod. Has anybody heard of Nearpod? Nearpod is also a solution that does this. They, in the last year and a half, have really stepped up their game and have put content into their application. So the cost of it is like 3 or 4 times the cost of what Pear Deck is, because it has content in it. You can choose and go on and use content that is grade level appropriate. Okay. It also has some virtual reality elements to it. So if you're wanting to get into that, that's great. There is a cost associated with that. I do train for Pear Deck and Nearpod as well. I like Nearpod because it's quick, easy, and simple to use. And if you already have an application or a presentation or even a handout that you want to project out to everybody, you can do it in just a couple of seconds. Okay, so that's what I'm going to project to you today. My sessions are always Google links, right? So you can either use a QR code and grab them, or you can, it's going to be on the bottom of every screen. You can come up and just take a picture of that. It is case sensitive. I also tweet it out, right? So you can follow me on Twitter. I used to be a graphic designer, so it really bugs the crap out of me when I don't have colors match, right? So last night I matched this color to this color, and I'm thinking I should have gone with this color because this is just offensive. Yeah. So anyway, I try and do nice stuff like that, right? But anyway, we'll jump on to the next session here, and this is about me. I'm married. I have 2 children who currently have strep throat and bronchitis. So, yes, double. So they're home with the mother-in-law today, so I've got that going for me. Huge fan of technology in the right scenario, right? I don't like folks who like to come in and say, well, you should be using this for technology, you should be doing this. If you've got a solution that works, maybe it's not the most tech savvy, but you're still completing your objective, that's great, right? I'm not going to put $1,000 iPad wireless setup solution, on your desk if you can show me that using an overhead projector, you can still accomplish the same mathematical, solution there. Yes, I know that's weird to hear an IT person say, overhead data projector, but the solution is we still have those skill sets out there where you're doing math, you're still showing people how to do things. Digitally, it only needs to happen if they absolutely need to get it to them digitally, if you're in a one-to-one program and all that stuff. So I'm a fan of technology for the right application, if you can afford it, in the right price, in the right place. There's my personal contact information. Again, my Twitter handle, Mr. Grifftastic. Right, so what is Pear Deck? We're going to talk about that today, and I've got a quick video off of their site, which hopefully is going to show you a little bit more about that, and then I'm going to demo it, right? So my goal of this demonstration is to be able to show you Pear Deck, and if you have a device, any device, you can join my presentation and follow along with me, and I'll show you exactly what it does. Then how it integrates with Google Classroom, some tips, tricks, and swag. Oh my, I've got one t-shirt left, and it is an extra large. So we'll have to come up with some way in order to give that swag away. Okay, so let's watch this Pear Deck video first, though.
Hi, we're excited to tell you that you can add the power of Pear Deck to Google Slides. Imagine if you could engage every student in your class. What if you could see instantly who's with you and who's struggling to keep up?
Raise the volume.
That's the power of Pear Deck, a formative assessment tool designed by teachers and integrated with Google Classroom to support 100% student engagement. Pear Deck brings your slides to life with interactive questions that can be added to any presentation. We're making it easier than ever to bring the power of Pear Deck to your class. Start with Google Slides, get the Pear Deck Google Slides add-on, and add interactive questions or formative assessments throughout your slide deck. When you're ready, be sure to present with Pear Deck. Your students will join your Pear Deck session from any device with a web browser. Direct them to peardeck.com/join and enter the session code to begin. As you advance your slides, students will be prompted to answer your questions, and their answers will appear on your teacher dashboard in real time. Answers can be displayed anonymously on the classroom projector. So instead of worrying about getting the right answer and feeling silly in front of peers, your students are putting ideas out there in a safe, anonymous way, discussing and learning from each other. And that's just the beginning of what you can do with Pear Deck and Google Slides. 100% student engagement is just a deck away.
It's just a deck away. That's a pretty interesting motto there. All right, so the deal is what you're going to do with this and what I'm going to demonstrate is with Google Slides, I can take my presentation and broadcast it out to everybody all at the same time, okay? So how can I do this? I'm going to go in and find a Google presentation that I have recently done. Let's do, this is one I took from Eric Kurtz. I don't want to steal from him. I'll steal from him. He's good. All right. So if you don't know Eric Kurtz, he's a fantastic presenter. He's from Ohio as well. And he's got a large following online, and I used to do a podcast with him called The State of Tech. So this is more for an elementary solution, right? And this would be one that I would do one-on-one with elementary kids. It's practicing dragging and sorting, right? But if I wanted to explain this to my kids first, and I didn't have a projector or something like that, I could present this out to everybody in the classroom. Now, in order to get this on your screen, you're going to have to do a couple of steps first, right? If I already had this set up and I had all my students in a Google Classroom, it'd be just a snap, okay? But for you guys, you're going to have to do a couple of steps, okay? So I'm going to go to add-ons and I'm going to click Pear Deck. Have a seat. So in Pear Deck, if you don't already have this add-on, you can go down to Get Add-ons, find Pear Deck, and click on it. You guys don't have to do this. This is something only the presenter is going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and present with Pear Deck. Oh, add-on needs updated. I'm going to present, and it's going to give you instructions on how to connect to this presentation. Now, it does take a couple of seconds to get up there. Maybe it didn't. It just wanted to update first. Do that first. There we go. Oh, come on. Don't be a jerk. There we go. Present. All right. So what's going to happen is on my screen, this is probably the most confusing part for teachers, okay? It takes your presentation and it flattens it into pictures. And then it makes it a set of slides on their end, okay? So if you have something that's a lot of slides, a couple hundred, it's going to take a little while to do it, okay? Excuse me. The next step is they're assuming that all classrooms have a device and that you've come over and you've plugged in a projector and that you have either a dual screen setup where you take something and you slide it over the projector, or that it's mirroring, okay? So they're assuming that you have a second screen in this scenario. This pops up every time. In this case, I'm mirroring what's on my screen, right? I'd like to think that a lot of teachers probably just go up here and then hit freeze, you know, if they've got a bell ringer or something up there, and then they keep working, grading, doing whatever they need to do. But Pear Deck seems to think differently. I don't know. Every school I've worked at, I've had it mirror. So in this case, they have it to where it's two different screens, okay? So that being said, what I'd like you guys to do is go to peardeck.com/join. Okay, and when you get to this screen, it's going to ask you to sign in or use this code. They say, lovely kangaroos switch lovely avocados. Yeah. So they come up with a little word analogy to make sure that you do it. I can see the number of students that are connecting right away. It's telling me how many people are connecting. Okay. If I have a Google Classroom set up, it was a snap because all I had to do was say, send this out to my Google Classroom. It already knows all the kids in there, and it knows who's supposed to be and who isn't, okay? But for today, for you guys, it's going to allow you to join and do all this, okay? So did everybody get a chance to type that in, okay, just to see what it would look like? Up to 29. Now, it's peardeck.com/join. This LKSLA will stay up on the screen just in case a student comes in late. They can still type that in. So I'm going to go to the next slide, okay? And so now on your screen, yes, you're seeing one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, right? Okay, so that's the main benefit of this is I'm controlling the pace of what's being presented. At this point, I don't have it set up where you can scroll through on your own, okay? There is a feature that allows me to do that. Let's say if I had questions, I wanted you to answer 5, 6, 7, 10 questions. Once I got to that point, I could say, okay, answer the questions, and then it turns into self-paced, where the kids can go through and do that. I have the ability to turn that on. For right now, this presentation isn't set up to do that. This works on all devices as well. So as I scroll through the device, everybody's going to see what's on the screen all at the same time. Now, there are two different views, okay? So this is the projector view, is what they're calling it. And what they're saying is it's always just going to show what you want the kids to show up on the screen, and it's always going to keep this up there. The second screen that you would see as a teacher is called the dashboard, and I'm going to bring that up, and I'm actually going to use that to present because I want to show you what it looks like when you're presenting as a teacher, okay? How I would use this in the classroom and how I've told my teachers to do it is we have dedicated desktops, right? And then we have a secondary device. Almost everybody has a Chromebook that they get to use as their secondary device. It doesn't matter. The Chromebook doesn't have to be plugged into projector, anything like that, as long as it's connected to the dashboard part of this, which is just peardeck.com/dashboard, and the teacher's logged in and they're running that session, then they can control this slide deck, okay? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over to this right now, and I'm going to say open dashboard on another device. And typically I would open it up on another Chromebook and walk around or an iPad or something like that. But in this case, I'm going to do it on this screen because I want you to see what that looks like. It's asking me to log in, again, to Pear Deck. And then this is the dashboard screen that I see. So a little bit different because I get to see what slides are coming up. I could immediately jump and move everybody to another slide if I needed to, or I could go back and click on one. Up in the corner, it tells me the number of students that are connected. If I have my Google Classroom connected, it tells me the number of kids that are looking at the screen and those who are not looking at the screen. Okay, so kind of neat. If they've closed it or they're not there today, it tells me. I can connect my Google Classroom here by clicking that Invite Classroom. Typically, you only have to do that once, and then you're in there. But these are all the people who are in this session today, okay? I also have the ability to go in and say, Abby, sorry, boom, you're out, right? So if Abby was at home or something like that and she happened to join and we were reviewing a test, I could say, you're gone, okay? So that's what that looks like. Now, the benefit of this is, again, as I scroll through, we're all looking at this on the same pace, okay? So kind of neat. As I advance, it's advancing with you guys, okay? But if I needed to ask a question, this is the most powerful part of Pear Deck, okay? So if I wanted to ask a question, I would click this Ask a New Question button, all right? And this is where it gets sort of confusing again, because if you haven't set up your slide deck in a way where you have questions in there automatically or already, then you need to add those questions now. For me, I didn't have any of those questions set up. I just borrowed this presentation from Eric Kurtz, right? So I'm going to ask a new interactive question, and what I would like you to do is tell me whether or not you understand what Pear Deck can do so far, or you like what Pear Deck can do so far, by giving me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, okay? So I'm just going to say, on your screen right now, in fact, this is what you see right now. It says thumbs up or thumbs down, and then you've got thumbs up or thumbs down, and you're just going to drag those dots, okay? So again, the view that we're looking at up here is the live view. This is not something I would typically show the kids, okay? Because they're going to say, oh, my dot moves, and then you have lost them, right? Because it typically is in real time. It's really fast, right? But so if you notice and you drag your dot back, so everybody, if you could, grab your dot and go back to this side, and we're going to see a exodus. Yep, look at that. Now, it's not in real time. Sometimes, just depending on the Wi-Fi, it's a lot faster. But right now, it's just a little choppy, right? So anyway, it's all over the road. What's neat about this is I can look at and hover over a person and say, all right, they're up in the corner. I know it, okay? Now, again, this is my teacher view. This isn't typically what I would show everybody else, okay? What everybody else sees is what you guys have on your screen, okay? So I can go in and say, oh, you know, Brandon didn't get it. I need to go back and re-explain it to him. I can star him, sort of tag him for right now, okay? So this is just a quick, formative, does everybody understand, right? Kind of neat. You can say, all right, great, let's move on. I jump to the next slide. Can't play with the dot anymore, okay? So this is a really neat solution to control the pace of the presentation and get some formative assessment built right in, okay? So let's do another feature. If I say lock the slide, right, what happens on everybody's screen? Anything? Got a what? Black screen? The screen just locked the slide, right? So if you need to stop and take a minute and explain something, you can block the screen and say, all right, we're not talking about that now. We're talking about this, all right? So redirect the attention. And it was pretty dramatic to see everybody's screen around you just turn black. And you're like, all right, crap, I'm focused now, right? So nice, quick way to get everybody back on task, okay? Uncheck, it's right back where it was, okay? How I see this done is this a Chromebook? Borrow this. I noticed you were taking notes. What I like to see, or what I do, is I encourage everybody to grab the presentation, right? Drag it stage right, and then take your notes, and then pull that out and drag it stage left, because what that allows you to do is still view the presentation and take notes at the same time, okay? So that's a cool feature that Pear Deck doesn't tell you about, but it's something that now that our Chromebooks are kind of widescreen, I'd say it's something easy to do if you're lecturing or doing something like that. Alternatively, Pear Deck doesn't do that, but Nearpod has the ability to take notes built in at the bottom of the screen, okay? So again, Nearpod is about 6 times the cost of Pear Deck, but what happens is as the kid is typing and taking notes, the very last click that you do when you close out your session is it sends them a copy of their Google Doc that the notes they took with slides of everything that they took screenshots on, okay? So it's all about what you want to pay for, whether you want to pay the top of the line, you know, $6, $7, $8 per kid, or the like $1 per kid, this version, okay? So it's up to you cost-wise, right? So really neat solution here. As we're scrolling through, I want to go through and I want to add another question, all right? So I'm going to say, this time I want you guys to draw on an image. And so what I'd like you to do, it says draw on your screen over there. Go ahead and click and draw on the screen. You might have to make it full screen to actually draw on the screen. But what's weird about it is you can't draw, yeah, you can draw on the image, can't you? Yeah. So if you needed to draw and connect the dots on the screen, you could do that, okay? So if you have something where you're wanting kids to draw a diagram, connect dots, different things like that, you've already got that screen in your Google presentation. Very easy to do, okay? Now, I just started with Google presentations because this is what I had on hand, but if I had a PDF or a handout or a worksheet that I wanted them to do, where I wanted them to, you know, draw lines to a cell diagram or highlight words or do different things, I could still do that like this. I could scan that document, and instead of adding or starting from Google Slides, you can go to Pear Deck and say, insert a slide. And that slide can be a picture, a PDF, it can be anything. Okay, so I will jump back and do that and show you how that works. Now, what's neat about this is I can see, as I scroll down, everybody's content right there. And if I wanted to, I could click on it and say, let's see, overlay, right? That's the worst art I've ever seen, but that's okay. So this example, what I could see being done is if I had a map, right, of Michigan, right, and you wanted to say where, you know, where's the capital, where are you from, different things like that. As everybody's putting dots on there, that you're teaching geography, right, for that point. So I've seen that done, and that's pretty impressive and pretty quick to do, right, to just go out, grab an image of a map and do that. All right. So, and again, I can go out and look at this. I can hide a student's response. You know, it only takes one of them to draw an inappropriate phallic object on there, and then, all right, game over, buddy. So all I have to do for that is click on it and say hide response, and nobody gets to see that, okay? So jump back, and we'll jump to the next screen. So now I've done one where I'm drawing on it, okay? I'm going to do a new one. This time I'm going to have everybody answer an ABCD question. And I'm going to say, even though it's blank on your screen, I could have had a slide up there that said, all right, answer the question A, B, C, D. So notice as everybody's randomly pushing buttons, it's immediately populating for me, and I'm getting immediate feedback on what people are choosing, okay? If I wanted to know who is actually choosing A, B, C, or D, I can hover over there, and it's going to list me those names, okay? So immediate feedback for this application, and it's really cool. Again, works on phones, not just Chromebooks, okay? So if somebody doesn't bring their Chromebook for the day, they can sit and do this still, okay? Let's jump to the next. If I wanted to do number, long answer, or something like that, I can do that too. I'm going to choose short answer this time. Go ahead and type in your name just as a quick answer, okay? So I can see in real time what they're starting to write, okay? I've seen, in fact, we just did this in first grade. We had a spelling test, okay, through this. And what we did was we had each kid, through Pear Deck, each slide was, okay, spell the word goat, right? And so the kids are typing that in, and the teacher could see from her Chromebook in real time who was having difficulty typing, who had spelling, all that stuff. When we're done with this session, she can export that data and use that to grade, okay? So really neat solution there, okay? Any questions on this so far?
This is a free, there's no free.
It's free for about 14, 30 days. After that, I believe it's restricted to where not all the questions are possible to ask, right? So you have the ability to do like a thumbs up, thumbs down, like a B, C, or D, and then a text answer. They won't let you draw on screen. They won't let you do some of the stuff like that. It's like any other application. Once that trial is over, your premium features are taken away, okay? The other thing is you don't get that teacher dashboard option either. So you can't look and see how your kids are doing and all that stuff. So that's kind of a premium feature. But Pear Deck is very, very inexpensive, okay? Compared to the other solutions that are out there that do this, this is the lowest cost. It's even inexpensive enough to where you could say, you know what, I'm just going to buy one teacher license for myself because I'm going to use this all the time. between 30, 40 bucks one time, done. To me, that's a pretty good resource if it's going to be a daily driver, how you're assessing how you're doing that. Yes.
Is it a subscription for the year?
Yes, 30, 40 a year per minute. I'm just kidding. It's per year, yeah.
So
So
if I buy a subscription and I don't have, would I have to buy it for all of my students? I can still do all of this without logging.
yep, it's tied to your Gmail account.
Got it.
Yep, good question. Okay. So the other thing is, if I said, all right, in this example, I want to project all my student responses out there. I can hit project student responses, and then it's not projecting on your screen, I don't think. No, but it would project on my screen up there. So to verify that, I'd swipe back over to here, and it's going to show all the student responses. So if you're somewhere else in the room, you're walking around, I hit that project student responses, it shoots right up on the board, okay? So again, you have to remember my view, which is the dashboard view, versus the projector view. They're two different things. So if you're thinking about using Pear Deck, you want to really have two devices to do this. It could be a Chromebook and then a dedicated desktop, something that's projecting, okay? Now, oh, go ahead.
You said it was $34?
$30 to $40. What's their website say? Yeah, sorry, there is. I did math too quick. Yeah, sorry. There's an educational discount if you contact their salesperson and do that. In fact, I think we were supposed to, they were supposed to send me a link where you could sign up and get your educational discount. So if you follow me on Twitter, I'm going to send that out, and you can sign up and get another discount through there. Okay. I don't get any money or any more swag for doing it, but it's just, I think this is a really beneficial feature, especially since we're going now to one-to-one. This to me, this whole concept really changes the game of me as an educator standing up at the board leading, right? Now I don't need to stand up at the board. I can be anywhere, right? And as we're talking, in fact, this could be student-led. You know, they could do, you know, a Pear Deck presentation. I can share it out, and I can hand them my device, and they can lead it, right? They can get assessments. They can get feedback. So kind of a neat solution there. So I'm going to jump back to this. I'm going to turn that off. We'll do one more question. Numeric answer. Nah, it's kind of lame. Let's do draw on blank. Do I really want to risk that with this group? Okay, we'll do that. Draw on blank, okay? So same concept as before. If I say draw a picture of a house, right, you're going to take your trackpad, unless you got one of those fancy touchscreen devices. As people start to draw houses, I'm going to get their responses immediately right there. But if I do this overlay one, I can see slowly everybody's building a house right on top. So depending on what sort of application you want to use this for, it's a really cool solution to be able to draw on there. And again, this is a premium feature, okay? So let's take a look. Sorry to interrupt your Picassoing, but let's take a look at what I get when I download this, all right? So I've already taught my session for the day. I want to get this information out, okay? So what I do is I click down here, and right away, I didn't name this session. The way Pear Deck, their thinking is, and this is like this for most of these other screen projection applications, is you've got the name of your presentation, and then each time you present that presentation, it's called a session. So they're wanting you to name the session. So I'm going to name this miGoogle. Okay? So now I've saved this session. But for you guys, you'd probably call it block 1, block 2, first period, second period, something like that, right? So let's say you teach the same subject every day, and then you've got this presentation that you're planning on doing. You would do something like that, okay? If you don't, you obviously wear a lot more hats than I do, okay? So how this works, I'm going to go back to home. Whoops. I'm going to go back to, oh, you see I have the ability to turn on student-paced questions, right? Student-paced. So if I turn this on, now you guys have the ability to just flip through those slides, okay? So if I had a string of questions that I wanted you to answer, it didn't have to be we all answer the question all at the same time, okay? So you have the ability to just blow through it and answer those questions. So to me, it's kind of like the perfect scenario where you've got a great percentage of lecture that you're doing, because nobody wants to lecture all, 40, 80 minutes, however long your periods or blocks are, right? You've got the ability to lecture, and then you're like, all right, free, let's do the assessment, right? So you turn on self-paced, and they take an assessment just to let you know where you're at, right?
They go back, like if it was part of the presentation, you got questions from the presentation, and
they can go back.
All the way through.
They can go all the way through. That is the downside of it. So if you do that and they go back through, and let's say you had the answers to some of what you're doing, is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Yeah, they can go back. Now, Nearpod has a different idea of how this works. Anytime they create a question, it's automatically self-paced, and they can't go back, okay? So it's just the difference between the two applications. So I'm going to say, okay, got it. I'm going to hit the stop self-paced version, and then it goes back to the slide I'm on, okay? Now, let's go back here, and I'm going to end this session. So when I end this session, it says, okay, do you want to leave? Yes. You're going to get notifications on your end saying, hey, this session is over, right? Yep. Sometimes it asks you, hey, how was it? Did it work? Asks you feedback. That primarily is feedback for them to see if there was any internet connectivity issues, because you can do this 100 times in a row, and you're always going to get one where some kid's screen fails to connect. They got to reboot their device. It's not Pear Deck's fault. It's outlying issues, elsewhere, right? So anyway, this is my dashboard, and man, did I clean it up the other day, because I had dozens and dozens and dozens of presentations in there. But what this is this is going to show you every presentation that you've done so far, okay? So from here, when I click on this, I can view this in Google Drive, or I can click back on it, and I can go into Edit. I can look at start another session up, or I can click this button, and I can export the data to a spreadsheet, okay? So when I click Export to a spreadsheet, it's going to take all that content that you had, that you guys put in there, and it's going to export it in there, okay? Now, if it was a drawing, it just says drawing, okay? So it's not going to take that artwork and export it, but that's a gradable spreadsheet to me, right? Something that you could easily buzz through and say, hey, grab the kid's name and did that, okay? Again, this is part of that premium feature of Pear Deck. Again, but I'm telling you, it's, what we say, 30, 40 bucks, something like that for it. To me, if it does all these features, that's kind of worth it. If you're looking for something else and you want content that you can pick from, then look at Nearpod. Again, a little more costly for that teacher application, but it's got a little more polished interface, and it's got, again, content built in. So I could go down through. I could take all your email addresses and, spam you later. I've got options, So, just kidding. Wouldn't do that later. All right. So anyway, I can rename the session. I can do a lot of different things. I can delete it if I was done with it. Okay. So, like I said, there are options, and in order to make that work, I had to go down and turn on they used to have the Google one turned on, but I turned it off because it's built in now. So I did turn on this one. It's called Google Classroom. If I turn on Google Classroom, whenever I open up a Pear Deck, it'll say, do you want to integrate with your Google Classroom? It has you choose that specific classroom, and then it just grabs all those kids. So in order to present that out to them or do whatever you need to do, it's not that many steps for them to join that session. It's just built in. It's something that they get notified in with Google Classroom. Okay. So let's look back at home, and I'm going to go to New real quick, and I'm going to go to Slide Deck here. And I'm going to create a new slide. This is over in 2 minutes? Yes or no? Or 7? Okay. So what I can do is I can add a new slide. I don't have to do this from Pear Deck, or I'm sorry, from Google Drive. I can go and add a new slide. I can grab I can add an interactive slide, or I can click upload and grab an image, or I can grab a scanned document or anything like that, and I can create this on my own, okay? So very easy. I just did this through Google Docs because, you know, I did this through Google Presentation because I already had a Google Presentation that I could open up and use as an example. But as I said, you could grab a PDF that you just scan down the hall on the copier, and you want everybody to fill it out, it'll do that too, okay? So, nope. Close this. So again, to recap the things about Pear Deck, let's jump back to this guy. The great uses, I've already said some of those great use cases for Pear Deck. In first grade, we did spelling words, okay? Now, if you're the tech director, tech person for your district, what I would do is turn off spell check for your OU because it underlines the word if they're typing it in there. However, what we discovered is at that grade level, only about a third of the kids knew that the underlined word meant that it was misspelled, okay? So anyway, you can also see them typing that in, you know, as you go from years. So it's instead of, you know, a vocabulary list and you're walking around looking on everybody's sheet, you can see it real time from one, you know, from one spot. So kind of a neat solution. Maps in social studies classes, I've seen a lot of cool diagrams that they've got recreations of war or battles or different geographical areas where they say, you know, trace their route, show them this, identify these areas. Same in science. They've identified cells and different diagrams. And it was just part of that process where everybody had to draw lines or fill that out. So really neat use cases for this. Again, this is one of those tools that I think that now that a lot more school districts are going one-to-one, this is a model that's going to fit for a lot of teachers, where it says they want everybody to be on the same page with technology, not it's sort of a free-for-all at the classroom. Unless you have stations or something like that set up, but still you can go through and you don't have to use this the entire day. You could do this in, you know, the first part of the day is lecture or something like that and a little bit of assessment and then move on. So very easy to turn it on and off. So with Classroom, I sort of described how that works already. You just click the Add to Classroom button, and what that does is automatically grabs everybody in your classroom, okay? Any questions on Pear Deck so far? Yes?
Does it allow you to, like, link to a website, for instance, like on the kid's screen? In Nearpod, I use Nearpod all the time.
Yeah.
I can put in a website.
Yes.
And then it brings the website to the kid's screen. So I can say, hey, like, I want you to read this article. We're going to come back and discuss it. And then I put in a question afterwards. But that way it brings everybody to the correct website.
I've not figured out a way to do that in Nearpod. Yeah. I'm sorry, in Pear Deck. That is a difference between the two software applications. Do you pay for that, or does your district pay for it?
I have just the free version.
Okay, yeah. So even the free version has a little bit more benefits than what Nearpod does. On Nearpod, what she's talking about is the ability to have a link in there. You can either send it right out to the link where all the kids can do it right now, or they can self-paste, click on it, and it goes to it. What I do is, because we're already in Google Classroom, I have the Google Classroom extension right, but it's up here somewhere. And inside Google Classroom, there's a button that says, send this page to my Google Classroom. And as long as you pushed out that extension, it just loads to everybody's page. So there's a way around it, and that is free. It's a free Google Classroom extension. So any more questions?
What if you don't have a Twitter account? How can we get that if you're going to show us how to get that? Email or anything?
Yes. So right back there, if I jump back to the very top deck, it's eric.s.griffith@gmail.com. And as soon as they send me a link to, hey, here's a discount code or something like that, if you email me there, I'll email you back and say, hey, here's a discount code. Yes?
So say you set up like where even it's like for math notes and you send it out to Google Classroom or whatever, can the students go back later and look at it again? Like if you just leave it, you know, if they want to go back and look at the example again or something?
So in this solution, they can't open it back up and do that again. With Nearpod, they have a feature that says save to Google Drive, right? So they all at the same time, it sort of splits the screen. So down at the bottom, the kids have maybe an inch of space to type notes as they're watching what's going on right here. The last thing that you can do at Nearpod is when you click exit, it'll produce a Google doc for them of all their notes and little pictures of the slides. So there you go. Now in the free version, I don't know, is that a...
I haven't seen it, I'm assuming that.
Yeah, it's probably a premium feature. And to me, that's okay, wow. But again, if you don't have $6, $7, $8 per kid, yeah, you can do the split screen. Yeah. Now, what I have taught my kids to do is take a screenshot. Okay. Do you know how to do that with on a Chromebook?
No, I know how to do that.
Okay. On a Chromebook, I think it's Shift Control and then that little the square and a couple of lines. Yeah. Okay, yours is just Control. If you hit Shift and Control, you get this, and the screen goes a little black, and then you get sort of a crosshair. So if I wanted to take a screenshot of just that, it says okay, and then it's going to copy it to the clipboard down here, and then I can either copy it to the clipboard and paste it into my notes, or I can say, okay, dump it into my folder. Okay? A little more work, but again, you get what you pay for, you know, on that deal. And it's, I'm not saying, ha ha ha, I can't afford it. I mean, this is a great solution for what it is. It's very low cost. My district has used Pear Deck for about 4 years, and I think this year we might navigate over to Nearpod. We have a lot more teachers who are now interested in this in one-to-one. So, but luckily I do this for Nearpod as well, so we're good there. But yeah. So, any other questions about Nearpod? Yes. I've not had a limit. This one said 30. Was anybody? Okay. 50 is also the limit for Google Docs. So, yeah. Question back there?
My question was, if you can get the premium to the teacher, what's the advantage of getting it for all the kids? That's what you need for.
Yeah.
You need for one teacher and 50 students. So.
Yeah. At a time, per session.
So for each, like, you know, high school class has a bunch of different.
Right. Right. Well, that's how we. Right. That's how I've justified it. Is cost per student. How much is this costing me? So, for example, we have Go Guardian for students, which blocks against filters, that are blocks and prevents against inappropriate content online. That's like $10 a kid, right? To start, unless you negotiate or have a ton of kids, right? So I'm thinking, all right, for what that does, that prevents, keeps them safe and secure, that's $10. If I take that dollar amount and say apply it to my district, I want to say it was like $1,600 for Nearpod divided by 860 some kids. So it's like, all right, that's $1 or $2 per kid per year. All right, then that's how I'm justifying that. What that is going to allow them to do is the teachers to present to the kids. So this is how I do the math. And we have a ratio that says, you know, how much we're paying per student technology-wise, and that's what I would include that in, is that fee or that cost. So, yeah.
I saw that there's a vocabulary list
Yes.
as well, and it mentioned something about Quizlet, that it integrates with Quizlet, and I don't see that anywhere.
I don't either. That's new to me.
I was reading and it says it integrates.
I was just in a session where they showed that, and you can the kids make their own vocabulary cards and partners. One draws a picture, one makes the definition, and then you can export it into the writing for their own.
You can export Quizlet, but you can't take Quizlet cards and bring it into.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've not seen that feature yet. So, fortunately, I can't. Creepy picture of me staring back at myself is creeping me out. So, anyway. All right, well, I want to get ready this T-shirt. So, I'll tell you what. If you, the first person to take a picture of me presenting this and post it to Twitter and tag me in it gets the T-shirt. So, if you really want a T-shirt, it's an XL, go for it. So, okay. Any other questions on Pear Deck? or any Google questions whatsoever. Twitter handle is Mr. Grifftastic. I earned that in college. Let me turn off my microphone.